touchdown. And he flips the ball to Rowdy to do with what he will.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another video. Today we're going to continue off the previous video with the top 8 rookies. If you haven't watched that, go back and watch the top 8 rookie videos. It's doing really well, and I appreciate everybody who has watched it so far. Today we're going to continue that series in a slightly different way. I'm going to give you 2 more rookies that I like and 2 more rookies that I don't like. Starting first, right off the bat, we'll get into a rookie that I do not like, and this is probably the most popular name out of the bunch, and that's Omarion Hampton from University of North Carolina. Got drafted to the Chargers, 22nd overall, I want to guess. Forgive me, I did in a couple. There's a couple players in the previous video that I said their pick or whatnot, but hopefully I get that one right. Anyway, when it comes to Omarion Hampton, guys, there was nothing creative about his running style. Everything that he did was just very generic, if I'm being honest with you. When I look at Hampton at North Carolina, he got fed the ball a ton, multiple 30 carry games, a very soft schedule, and to be honest, there was nothing that just blew me away when watching his tape. I saw a lot of 3 yards in a cloud of dust. I saw very minimal elusiveness. There's just nothing that he was doing. He wasn't shaking guys out of their shoes like, a Travion Henderson, or outrunning some of these guys. There's just nothing that he did that really stood out. And maybe I missed the game, but somebody showed me the game. And North Carolina didn't even play a ranked team this past year. I mean, North Carolina as a whole wasn't a good team. They lost to James Madison. I mean, that kind of is pretty damn embarrassing if you ask me. But nonetheless, everything about Omarion Hampton on game tape last year looked very average. He was around 2 to 3 back, in my opinion. I think the Chargers completely overdrafted him in the first round. And when you look at the situation that he's entering, he's going to basically go into a situation with Najee Harris, who didn't get a big contract by any means, but it has a split written all over it, if I'm being honest with you. Now, the one benefit that he has working for him is the fact that Greg Roman is the offensive coordinator, and to Greg Roman's failure, he is obsessed with the run game. He wants nothing to do with. There's nothing that he wants to do with the pass game. He wants to run the ball on every single play, and it's partly why Baltimore's offense never really evolved in the early stages of Lamar's career with him as the OC. It just gets to a point where all he wants to do is run. So that will play nice for Omarion's volume. I don't think he'll have 30 carry games, but he'll have something where probably 25 carry games for sure. But aside from that, there's really nothing that I'm just going to be like, man, I can't wait to go get him outside of the volume. I'm not excited about Omarion Hampton at all. And when you look at who North Carolina played, what was really impressive about anything he did? Now, great background in high school, 4-star recruit, legendary North Carolina player, but I'm sorry, guys, I sound like a complete hater, and I'm not trying to hate on the guy personally or anything, but there's nothing special about Omarion Hampton. That's just me. One thing I will say outside of the volume working for him in a positive way is he has really nice hands out of the backfield. He does show a good job to catch the ball. Not really much of a route runner by any means, but he has reliable hands. So I'll give him that. But bottom line on Omarion Hampton, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. I mean, the good old saying, that is what his time was in North Carolina. Nothing special to his game whatsoever. Another player that I'm going to tell you guys to fade this year is Luther Burden III, who got drafted middle of the second round, or top, kind of like, 40-something, 43rd overall to the Bears, early to mid-second round. And I actually thought that was a pretty accurate spot where he was drafted. A lot of people on the draft Twitter community, draft shows, all that, they were claiming Luther Burden was an easy first-round pick. I didn't really see it at all. I think where he went is a pretty accurate representation of what he put on game tape and his physical profile as a whole. I got a lot of problems with Luther Burden, if I'm being honest. Number one, I mean, he was a 5-star recruit. He was a top 10 player in the entire nation. He could have went to any school that he wanted to. He could have gone to Florida. He could have gone to Georgia. He could have gone to Bama. He could have gone to LSU. You name it. They all wanted him. But he go to Missouri. I mean, I think the reason he actually did was because his dad went there. But to me, I just thought it was the path of least resistance. Okay? And what do I mean by that? Basically, Missouri knew that since they got this guy, they were going to have to feed him the ball, revolve their entire program around this guy, or he's out of there. All right. If they're not going to roll out the red carpet for Luther Burden, knowing that Missouri football will never get a 5-star recruit in their fucking life, if we're being honest, and I shouldn't be cursing, I'm trying to hold off on it, but let's just be honest, guys. When have you ever seen a 5-star go to Missouri? That doesn't happen. So, especially a top 10 player in the nation. It's completely unheard of. And the fact that, Luther Burden was just basically going there, in honor of his dad, the entire program was selling out for him. So I thought it was very easy there. A lot of people were kissing his rear, and it was a very, very easy, least resistant time at Missouri. When you turn on his game tape, I feel like he was not going as hard at times on some of his routes. I just thought there was honestly some times this past year where he couldn't get open. I don't want to question his toughness, but I'm trying to give you guys valid points to question. Okay, I don't want to be. Again, I already was a little disrespectful, and I'm trying to change my ways and be nice and gentle and cordial. But I mean, there's a lot of evidence here that gives me proof that, man, what is this guy really? What are we in it for? I mean, are we in it to win a Super Bowl, or are we in it for, ourselves to get drafted, get a bag? And he's not the only one that would be like that. But I mean, I don't want players like that on my team, even for fantasy. Okay. And you look at the situation in Chicago, it's really not looking good for him at all. He's basically going to be the number 4 target. Loveland was picked in the first round. I would assume he's going to be ahead of him on, the target chart, if you want to put it like that. DJ Moore is their number 1, and then Odunze I actually like a lot this year. I expect him to take a step up. So I know 3 receivers are basically on the field at all times in the 2025 NFL, but I just don't really see him being a guy that's going to get open as easy as a Keenan Allen, who Keenan Allen doesn't have the explosiveness maybe of a Burden, but Keenan Allen was savvy enough to just get open, get those underneath catches, and basically make his hay during that way and still be a viable fantasy player. I think that's going to take a little time for Burden. On top of all that, I mean, Luther Burden really wasn't a good contested catch player. I mean, if he can't get open, I thought he struggled a lot in contested catches, and he's a little more of a smaller frame guy, 5'11", 6'0", maybe if you round him up. Looks like no more than $180. I think he's listed at like 189, if I want to say, around that ballpark, but looks very light as a player. One positive after I completely ripped on the guy, you get him the ball. Once you finally get the guy the ball, okay, after he gets open or whatnot, you finally get the ball in his hands and you give him some space, he can make people miss, and he could do a lot of dancing. All right, and actually in a positive way. I mean, he's a beast in open space, plain and simple. But 5-star top 10 player in the nation, I mean, that's basically half the reason you were there. I mean, you just make a ton of guys miss, and you were out-athleting everybody. But the another benefit, I guess, is that he's not that expensive. But I just think there's guys that have a much better shot going higher on their respective depth charts. And then on top of that, they don't really have as many question marks when it comes to the heart, okay? When it comes to taking the path of, I don't want to say least resistance, but in a sense, that's really what he is. Now, this next player that I'm going to get into, it's going to sound a little contradictory to how I just bashed Burden with the least resistance stuff, but the player I'm talking about is Jack Besh from TCU, who ended up originally being a 4-star from Louisiana area. Everybody in Louisiana who plays football, their dream is to play for LSU. So he goes and plays for LSU and basically is buried on the depth chart in a room that had Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. and Keyshawn Boutte, who, I mean, really hasn't shown much so far in the NFL. I thought he showed some flashes last year with the Patriots, but Boutte was a 5-star recruit. He was like a huge player in high school. Okay, he was a recruit that basically LSU sold out to get after they won the national championship. So big time player at LSU, and they got caught up in some gambling stuff and whatnot, and kind of went off the radar. But I think he might make a climb back with the Patriots this year. Keep an eye out for him. But was basically buried behind those three guys. And look, this is where I think it's a practical transfer. Okay. Those guys got drafted last year, so he would have had to wait 3, if not damn near, pretty much 3 years, sit on the bench, let all these guys go through, because no matter how hard he trains, you're not better than Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. is a stud, and that's why he's going round 1. He was never going to be better than Malik Neighbors. Okay, so he says, you know what, you guys got it. I'll get up out of here, go to TCU, which is still a respectful program, a little bit better than Missouri, I'll say that, and end up having some big-time production, over 1,000 yards this past year, and showed that he could basically be a number 1 receiver when counted on, an X-receiver, as they say in the pros. What makes his story really interesting is I think that this kid is playing for some extra motivation and really has, on tape before this even happened, I saw he has a huge heart just the way he plays. I mean, look, let's be real, guys, and I don't want to get too, off topic or, sound a little ridiculous when I say this, but at the same time, name me a white boy receiver that went to LSU. You can't. Okay. I mean, this guy didn't get to LSU because he's a 4'4", 4'3" guy. He didn't get to LSU because he's 6'5". He got there because of this. He's got heart and soul. And on top of this, his brother died in that attack before, I think it was before the Sugar Bowl, where that, I think it was a truck or something clobbered like 14, 15 people on Bourbon Street. His brother actually died in that attack. And he's basically dedicated his entire draft journey from that point on to his brother. And, his brother was a player, I think, at Princeton. Wasn't going to go to the NFL, but, they grew up as football family, whatnot. His uncle was a trainer, I think he worked with the Cowboys and a couple other teams. So this guy was a huge football family. It was a lot to him, and to not have his partner in crime with him now, he's basically living out his journey for his brother. And look, a lot of you guys are going to say, that don't mean nothing. Listen, I want to, what I'm going to do on my scouting reports, I'm not going to give you the next gen analytics. You guys can go over to the Jokers on PFF and get all that information, advanced statistics. There's plenty of other guys out there that are not Jokers that actually do a really good job at that. But I'll give you a scouting report that I guarantee you the worldwide leader's not giving you. I guarantee you really any draft magazine won't give to you. And I look for players with character. Okay, if there's one thing you're going to bet on with me, I value character. Character matters. Character first. Everything starts up here. All right? And I think just the fact that this guy is just a prime example of heart and soul. There's nothing physically that's like, damn. I mean, you're not getting blown away when you see Jack Besh on the field, but when you watch him play, there's a lot of heart and soul in this game. Now, getting to the game tape itself, he's a really good down-the-field player. I think one of my favorite traits about him is it looks like when he's going up to catch the football, he's like one of those old rebounding power forwards like a Reggie Evans or, maybe even, you can even say like a more modern example, maybe like an Andre Drummond, just one of those old guys that they're strictly boards boxed out. He boxes out for the football. And it's honestly really, it's I don't want to say inspiring to see, but it's a guy that you want on your team, knowing that he's going to do whatever it takes to get the football in the air and just get open, do what he has to do. It was I'm not going to lie, no pun intended, it was a little vanilla watching his tape, but the production was there, and it didn't have to take him 40,000 carries or targets to get that production, unlike Omarion Hampton. This guy got it in about 70 to 80 catches, I believe. So this guy, in my opinion, looking at the Raiders depth chart where they have Jacoby Myers, who's been in the league forever at this point, never really been a guy that could take a leap as a number one guy. The number one guy on that team is Brock Bowers. Trey Tucker is a good speedster, but really hasn't shown that he can make the next jump either. And another guy that I do like on the Raiders, we might get him into a little bit more of a deeper breakdown later in a different episode, is Dante Thornton, who is a classic Al Davis size speed prospect. So it's almost like a great pairing for a draft class to pair a guy who's strictly size speed with a guy like Besh, who has more of the high character, intangibles, do it all ex receiver to pair with that. But I know Al Davis was probably smiling from his grave when Dante Thornton was picked. 6'5", 4'3" type player. So if being honest with you guys, if I'm in best ball drafts, what I would do is take Jack Besh 11th, 12th round, take Dante Thornton with the 16th round, and see if one of those guys can burst. And, Geno coming in is going to be an upgrade from what they had last year. I'm not really a big fan of Geno. I'm proud of Geno for how far he's come from when Rex Ryan basically sabotaged him on the Jets to start his career all the way to where he is now. I didn't think he'd still be in the league now by any means. And it goes to show how far he's come. But he will be a significant upgrade for that entire offense. I think that offense as a whole is going to take a huge step up. So I'm not all in on Raiders, but I'm in on trying to figure out who that number one guy is going to be. And I think Jack Besh has a really solid shot at that, given that he's going to have more fire, in my opinion, than anybody in that entire room. And again, guys, I've been proven wrong. I'll get called an idiot. Okay. I can take it. It's okay. All right. There's guys that probably said last year, don't take Barkley. All right. We all had bad takes, but I see what I look at. I look at the game tape, and then I try to do a deep dive on the story of the player, and then I formulate my opinion. And there's plenty of opinions out there. So I could be wrong, I could be right, but I just have a little bit of a hunch when it comes to Jack Besh. I'll say that, and it sounds a little homo. So let's move on. Last player that I really like that is no surprise. I've heard a lot of other podcasts out there talk about this guy. Player I'm talking about is Trey Harris, University of Mississippi, who ended up getting drafted in the second round of the Chargers. Prototypical X receiver, probably the second best true X receiver behind Tech McMillan this year. Started off his career as a high school quarterback, wasn't recruited at all. Had to go to the Raging Cajuns, I believe, to start off his career, then transferred over to Ole Miss. Ended up in high school throwing the ball to Malik Neighbors. How about that? Did you guys know that? Bet you didn't. So why is that important? He's quarterback friendly, okay? He knows what a quarterback is going to like, where you need to be as a receiver, the little sound fundamental details that, a lot of receivers that haven't done something like that, they're all just give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. They don't care. If I'm open, give me the ball. I think there's a certain IQ that Trey Harris has to his game playing quarterback in high school that's really going to give him an advantage when he gets to the NFL. And as a rookie, I think it'll give him a leg up on a lot of other guys across the league that just don't have that advantage. Now, keep in mind, guys, why am I big on these rookie receivers and stuff like that? These guys have a shot to get number one on their depth chart. Now, I don't think he'll have more targets, yards, touchdowns than Ladd McConkey, but granted, McConkey has an injury history, so let's keep that in mind. And on top of that, these guys are cheap, okay? The consensus ADP worldwide leader, they don't know how to rank these guys. They don't watch game tape. They don't look at these guys in college. They might say they do, they don't. Okay, they don't know anything about these guys. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say like I have a magic 8-ball and I know everything about these guys, but what I've been doing for these past 2 months, guys, is studying these freaking rookies because I want to nail the rookies, okay? And then by the time we get to the other guys we've already seen for years on years. So it's basically like sorting out a bunch of names that we already sorted out for the last year and a year before that and a year before that. Just a couple things changing here and there. All right, these rookies, this a clean slate. So that's why I spend so much freaking time on these rookies. Anyway, looking at the game tape for Trey Harris, 50-50 ball. I mean, he is outstanding. Okay. I'll be honest with you, when I was watching him, I was thinking this is a very similar scouting report to Ted McMillan. Doesn't have the pure talent as Ted McMillan, not all the way up there, but a very talented player in his own right. I don't want to call him a diet McMillan, but just slightly short of a talent of Ted McMillan. He can adjust anywhere in the air, very strong hands. There was a lot of times in the red zone, outstanding red zone player. They tried to bracket him knowing that he was going to get the ball, and he still went up and got the ball. Bracket meaning one corner's here, one quarter's here. These guys are looking around, and he's still catching the football. A lot of times he was double teamed and still made plays. As a run blocker, he's really good. And again, a lot of guys, why does that matter? He stays on the field in base. Okay, Ladd McConkey's not going to stay on the field in base because he's a little bit of a smaller player, and he's not really a run blocking receiver. And this is an offense that values run blocking. Greg Roman, all he cares about is run. Harbaugh is a huge proponent of the run game as well. So this guy will stay on the field in pretty much 95% of the plays, assuming that he's going to pass Quentin Johnson on the depth chart, which I think he will eventually do if he hasn't done yet. Now, training camps and stuff like that hasn't started, so we'll see how that changes as that, gets going in about a month from now. But I expect him to take Quentin Johnson's job. Okay? And at that point, you're only competing with Ladd McConkey, and with a quarterback like Justin Herbert, those guys can both coexist. So it's just really up to, can this offense, Greg Roman, can he do his part on the depth chart and, give Trey Harris the volume that he needs? And I think there's a path here. Okay. Now, the same concern I have with McMillan is the same concern that I have with Trey Harris, and that is the lawn speed. Okay. He's got bursts coming off the line of scrimmage, which is nice, but that deep lawn speed in the NFL, I just worry that some corners are going to be able to catch up to him. I worry a little bit about press man because even though he's a physical player, it's just he's going to get slowed down too much early on in his steps, and it's going to be hard for him to separate a little bit. He's going to have to deal with that and make some adjustments. But he does have those long strides. He's 6'1", 6'2", I think. So has that ability to break away with those long strides despite having 4.5 speed. So that's basically the same thing I said with McMillan. McMillan is 6'4", so it's even easier for him. But Trey Harris was just a very good football player. Okay, and I think he's a smart football player, and he's a football player that is really good in the red zone, and that's important because that's where. You look at the Chargers, they really haven't had anybody that was a red zone threat. I mean, Quentin Johnson was drafted to be that guy, but Quentin Johnson just never was that guy. I mean, he could never get it going. They did have big Donald Parham at like 6'10", but he couldn't stay on the field to save his life. And they really haven't had a red zone guy. Mike Williams, same thing. Great. Mike Williams, actually, believe it or not, Mike Williams, I actually think he's back on the team, but Mike Williams at this point is pretty much cooked. And no disrespect to him, but I mean, let's just be real. So there's very minimal competition, in my opinion, when it comes to Trey Harris. And second round pick is pretty significant capital. I expect Hampton will be on the field, of course, but I think the Chargers drafted these guys because they want to get a spark plug going on that offense and really get this offense going to the next level. So I'm all over Trey Harris, 9th round. I think this is a high ceiling player, a smart player, a dependable player, and a player that can excel in the red zone. And I don't know about you guys, but I want players on my team that score touchdowns, and I think that's what Trey Harris can do. So there you guys have it. My two rookies that I like, my two rookies that I'm not so high on. Agree, disagree, let me know in the comments below. If you think I'm an idiot, let me know in the comments below. It's all good, guys. It's all love. I want you guys to get paid, okay? Your buddies could be at the bars. They're going to be cheering. They're going to be hooting and hollering. I don't want you guys being part of any of that sort of degeneracy. I want you at home, chilling, making money with this fantasy. Because I think if you do the homework, which I'll do the homework for you because I enjoy doing it, you can beat the average Joe. Now, how do you truly beat the average Joe? Stay tuned, guys, because the draft board is coming out in about a little less than a month from now, or I should say 2 months from now. It's going to come out. The official date I have right now is August 5th. Okay. But a little less than a month from now is where the final player report is going to get published. Player reports, player projections, my updated draft board that'll get updated all throughout the offseason until September 2nd or 3rd, whenever the first game starts is when it'll, stop getting updated. So I'm going to have you guys covered to the T with everything that you need. And we'll be talking about, how to purchase that and what not in a little less than a month from now is what I was trying to say earlier. So I got you guys covered. Stay tuned, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and let me know what you think. All right, because I do appreciate all positive and negative feedback. But I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.